Argos just dropped 3 new fragrances, and I realized I haven't even told you guys about my #1 rose fragrance of all time. My name is Neve, welcome back to Aromatics. Today we're going to be talking about literally my #1 rose fragrance of all time. I'm talking about a fragrance that centers itself shamelessly around that note of rose, but it's more than just a rose fragrance, gentlemen. This is the most luxurious, most opulent rose fragrance I have in my collection. The fragrance doesn't just stop at being a rose fragrance. There's much more to this than just being rose. Before we even get down to the juice, the bottle alone is jaw-dropping. Take a look for yourself. This is by far one of the best presentations on the market. If you're looking for something luxury, this is luxury at its finest. This is exactly what they wanted it to be, luxury. The one thing that's important to note with this brand is all of their plaques, also all of their fragrances, have Greek mythology based or inspired by portraits. So these are actual artworks that are made by professional artists, and they're historical pieces that have been embossed and debossed onto this plaque. And in so much detail, it's ridiculous. Take a look for yourself. I mean, the bottle will speak for itself. All of the extravagant colors, everything pops out. It's 3D. It's fantastic. And not only that, but you see those CZs in the top there. Attention to detail. The name of the fragrance is there engraved. Adonis Awakens. By no means do I think I exaggerated. And if you don't think that this is worthy of everything and all of the hype that I presented it to be, then you can't be pleased. Look at the freaking bottle. All right, bottle aside, BS aside, the juice color is another factor that I genuinely love with this one. And because in my opinion, it's not juice that's been colored, although likely to have been the case. But the fact is that the ingredients in this fragrance have natural dyes in them, like Rose Absolute, which is used, in my opinion, to a high dose. One of the most expensive raw materials, aside from genuine oud, to use in fragrances include Rose Absolute, and that is exactly why I love this. So what does Rose Absolute smell like? Well, it smells like rose, but in the best way possible. Super jammy, super refined, the most natural smelling rose you can get in a liquid form or essential oil form. Amazing stuff. So let's take a look at some of the notes of this fragrance. They include grapefruit, bergamot, and pink pepper, which really allows this fragrance to open up literally like a rose champagne. That's the opening of this fragrance. Smells like rose champagne. But shortly after that opening, and I mean within a couple of seconds, you're going to be just enveloped by this jammy, juicy raspberry quality. And what I really get with this is that it's a slight sweet but natural sweetness, that of fructose. So nothing that's like high fructose corn syrup or anything like that, but the natural fructose that comes from the raspberry really draws this naturalistic spun sugar. Smells like cotton candy. So you've got a glass of rose champagne, just picture it in your head, okay? And you've got freshly spun raspberry cotton candy. And as this starts to dry down and develop, you start to get more of that cashmere and some of that wood. The Mysore starts to kick in. Extremely smooth, very well rounded, and then it just starts to smell a little bit of like clean linen. Gentlemen, if you enjoy fragrances that do clean linens, if you enjoy fragrances that are jammy, that are sweet, natural smelling, this is the cream of the crop of all of them. Amouage Reflection has to be one of my favorite fragrances, and really Amouage as a house is one of my favorite fragrances, but I have to admit that in terms of those luxury fabric softener scents, this is the king of all. So yes, to me, this is better than Reflection Man. This takes Reflection Man and turns it into its little sister. So super I mean, no disrespect to Reflection Man. I love Reflection Man, okay? But I'm just trying to draw the resemblances and what this is in comparison to something like that. And the reason I use Reflection Man is because nearing the mid and the dry down of the fragrance, which isn't till like hour 3, the mid at least, you start to get much more of those clean linens. And that's really what this one surrounds itself around. The most extravagant hotel fabric softener nearing the mid and dry down. Smells gorgeous. I stayed at the Ritz-Carlton Hotel. Man, I had a TV in my jacuzzi, okay? I was in a robe that said Carlton. They asked me for my name. I could have got it engraved. Not engraved. I could have had a personal stitching. I skipped all of that. But the fabric softener that they used, this smells better. So don't take my word for it. Jump into the house of Argos. Use my code Aromatics, or don't use my code Aromatics. It doesn't matter to me. What matters to me is that you get your nose on some of these Argos fragrances, because all hype aside, Christian Petrovich absolutely annihilates everything that he put his hands on so far. So don't let me down, Christian, because these are absolutely fire. And you guys can see I have the entire collection shamelessly. And my Adonis Awakens sits right there at the front for a reason. This is one of the fragrances that I shamelessly have 2 backup bottles worth, And I also had them personally engraved, so they offer some of the finest that you can get, the finest experiences that you can get in perfumery. I can stand behind Argos fragrances. Its experience diving into the house is unlike any experience that I've had with any brands. And I'm talking about some of the highest end brands. All due respect to all of the other brands, this one, though, has to be one of my favorites. So if you were thinking about a flanker for Adonis Awakens, it should be something that includes Adonis Nib. Just Nib. Just rename it Nib. Performance on this stuff, if I spray it more than 6 times, which I always want to, and I sometimes do, it can honestly get cloying because it's that strong. Although refined, it's very strong. With most of the fragrances from Argos, none of them are really freshies or easy to wear. They're all statement makers. They're all bold. They're all definitive. And in their own way, they're all extremely unique from one another. That's why I highly recommend sampling. But if you asked me, Nib, what is the #1 from Argos to you? I would easily say Adonis Awakens. Shortly after that comes Danier, and then after that is T.O.B., aka Triumph of Bacchus. Stay tuned for the live interview with Christian Petrovic, the sorcerer behind all of these fragrances. Set the clock September 21st, 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Have you ever heard of Argos fragrances? And if you have, which one do you own or have you sampled? And until the next video, peace.